How's that, guys? I've actually just switched to the microphone that's on the computer. If that's no good, I'm not quite sure what we'll do here, guys and girls. So let me know. I've just switched, to the microphone in the computer. It mightn't be as good as normal, but let's see. And if not, then I don't know what we're going to do. We might have to do it tomorrow night. Let's see. All right, better. I know. Look, it's probably not ideal, guys, but it's just the microphone in the computer itself. So we'll see. All right. I'll do my best. I'll get a little bit closer to the computer there, guys. I might just zoom myself out a little bit so you can't, so I get too close. There we go. All right. Let's get into it. So apologies again, guys. I don't know what's happened there. I'll have a look at it tomorrow. But, all right. So the main thing is you can hear me. And let's get into it. So, of course, there's only one thing we're going to be talking about tonight. That's yesterday's show. I was just saying before, of course, you couldn't hear me, that I don't really have a real rundown tonight. I'm just going to wing it because, of course, there's only one thing we're going to talk about. I know there's a few other bits and pieces. We had Darragh Foley on the weekend. There's international news going on. So we'll discuss that. But as I said, there's only one thing that's on everyone's mind is the big fight yesterday. And what an event that it was. I went up to it, up to the show. There will be a video coming out tomorrow with a little bit of a video that I did myself, and Uncle Ronnie Picken went up there, had a ball. So I'm going to put that. Look, it's a 10 or 15 minute video of just our adventures up in Sydney. So keep a lookout for that. That'll be tomorrow. Got a few people in the chat here. James telling me, I think we're good now. No, yes, that's the earlier one. So all good, says Carl. How are you, Carl? Thanks for joining in, mate. James is there. How are you, mate? There you go, says G'day, Matt. How are you, buddy? And Carl says, Holden, how's it going? Say my motherfucking no. How good was that, eh? I don't normally swear on here, but I think in tribute to Tim Tszyu, how good was that? Look, you probably got to give it to Tim a little bit. There's probably a lot of pent-up frustration, you would probably think. It's always been his Costa Tszyu's son, and look, it must have been really galling for him because he's trained just as hard as his dad. He sacrificed just as much as his dad. Not his fault his last name is Tszyu. So I felt really good for him, and we'll go into that in detail, of course, in depth, and I'm really looking forward to your input out there about what you guys thought of it. So there was a couple of decisions yesterday that we'll go through as well with the fight card. I want your opinions on it. There was a draw, of course, with Benny Marnie and Cohen Mazudio. We had the Isaac Hardman, Rowan Murdoch fight as well. Both slightly controversial, so we'll talk about that. And thanks, Carl. I appreciate that, mate. So, all right. Well, I'm glad you can hear me, and we'll get into it. So as I said, I went up there on the weekend, and it was really good. I hope. Thanks again to everyone, by the way, before I forget, for everyone that tuned in on Saturday. We did the live from the casino straight after the weigh-in. I did it with Mike Altamura, and it was great of Mike to give up his time. He did it for about, I think it was only an hour. And, he had 3 fighters on the card, so he was a busy man, but he took his time to have a chat with us for about an hour. And, we had a few people tune in. It was great, probably had 100 or so people, so it was good. And, it was great to sort of talk boxing with you. Apologies, too, for everyone that asked questions out there. When you do it live on YouTube, it's a little bit different to the software I'm using here the questions sort of pop up and they're there for about 3 or 4 seconds, then they're gone, and we can't sort of see them in the chat. So apologies if we didn't answer your questions that you had going through the feed, but that's the reason why. James is getting ahead of the pack here. Marnie was robbed more than Harbin, in your opinion. So, well, we're going to discuss that in detail, mate, because there was plenty of controversy there. So, a little bit of my weekend. As I said, I'm going to have a video out tomorrow with the whole weekend. But we went up on Friday night. As I said, went up with Ronnie Picken. I've got a little story to tell about poor old Ronnie. I think he's watching. If not, I'm sure he won't mind me telling it, the story. But we went up on Friday night, stayed at the Pullman just up the road from the Kudos Bank Arena. And I must admit, being a Melbourne boy, I'm always on here about the facilities, how great they are in Melbourne. But I've got to say, I was really, really impressed with the Sydney precinct, I suppose you call it, in Melbourne. If you haven't been there, you've obviously got the mighty MCG, 100,000 people in there. You've got Amy Park across the road where the rugby's play, or league. I'm not allowed to call it rugby. I can't remember who said that. I'll call it league. Where the league's played the Melbourne Storm. You've got the Marvel Stadium's probably a 5-minute drive or something for there. But then you've got Rod Laver Arena, John Cain Arena. It's just a precinct full of stadiums. It was really good. But I was pleasantly surprised to walk down there, and you Sydney siders know what I'm talking about here. There was probably about 4 or 5 stadiums just in that little precinct there, all within walking distance. And I didn't know about it. Been to Sydney a few times, never been out into the that Western Sydney, I think it is. So I had Giants Stadium there where the Giants play. I think there was a Aquatic Centre. There was a Core Stadium, which is the Olympic Stadium, of course, Kudos Bank Arena. I think there might have been 1 or 2 others. But really, really impressed with the precinct in Sydney, guys. Stadium was absolutely awesome. I will say it was perfect place for boxing. It reminded me a little bit of the MGM Grand in Vegas. It was just a really good stadium to have a boxing event. They did section off the top tier, but I think it holds 14 or 15,000. So there might have been maybe 9 or 10. I'm not quite sure, but it was a buzzing atmosphere. Probably the only stop we got there. I think we got there at 9 o'clock, whatever it was, and the staff were a little bit unorganised, and we probably had to wait in line for 30 or 40 minutes while they got themselves ready and worked out what they were doing. I would have thought they might have had a rehearsal leading up to it where they were all ready to go, but that's a small little criticism. When we got in the arena, it was just awesome, and the Rose Brothers, No Limit, really need to be patted on the back here because they put on a hell of a show. I did comment in the video, I've been overseas probably 25, 30 times to Las Vegas for the big fights over there, and I've got to say, the show was on a par, not just the fight day, but the weigh-in and all the festivities they had, just as good and on a par as what they've done in Las Vegas with Mayweather, Pacquiao, Canelo, Golden Boy, Top Rank, you name it, Matchroom. More than match those guys. So full credit to the Rose Brothers, and just love what they've done for Australian boxing and us fans. And I did comment on Saturday. Probably highlights the fact of why Fox Sports said, you know what, boys, let's take the headache out of it and you take everything. I know it's probably caused some ripples out there, and a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, I have heard sort of people grumble that, it's bad for boxing, they got a monopoly, and hey, but if they're continuing to put on shows like they did and have the cards that they did with 50-50 Aussie fights, by the way, they're not bringing in imports. I know the Cuban was brought in to fight Akuso, but other than that, they're all 50-50 Australian fights, and I love it. So as long as they're bringing that to the table and putting on those types of events, I say give them everything. And I think they do 14 shows per year on the No Limit on Fox, plus I think it's 4 pay-per-views. No problems at all letting them have it. As long as they're producing shows like that, then happy days if you ask me. Got a couple of comments there. Andy's in the house. How are you, Andy? Thanks for coming on, mate. I'll put that on there. Come on. Yes, smash the like, guys. I always forget that. Yes, that's old mate Big J. I didn't see you there, Big J. I'm not sure whether you made it or not. League, that's right. You remember it was you, was it? That said, don't call it rugby. It's league. So as I just said, Big J, loved the whole league precinct. I thought it was awesome, and it was. I think they had the basketball playing on the Friday night. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Kings. There were a few Kings jerseys getting around the hotel, so I'm pretty sure they played across the road somewhere, and they won. Judging by everyone's reaction coming into the hotel, a lot of happy young kids coming in with the Kings jersey. So look, I know there's the Sydney-Melbourne rivalry that happens, but just got to say to all the Sydney siders, I loved love my time in Sydney. It's a really great place to have the fight. So. Carl says, I think No Limit did a great job with that fight week and they were received brilliantly by overseas. I've gathered a few Yankee Tim fans from today. You've been trolling those sites, have you, Carl? I'm sure you have. Look, I've got to say, there's still not a lot of love coming for Tim. I went through all the main sites today, and of course, Charlo's not going to give Tim any credit. We understand that, but he criticised him and said, "Well, it was the same old, same old. I knew what I was going to expect, and that's what he delivered." Of course, he's going to say that, but I was surprised. Paulie Malignaggi's come out today and said, "Yeah, it was impressive, but I still back Charlo," and the list goes on of all the fighters that didn't really rate Tim. That's fine. The Americans don't really rate anyone except Americans, let's face it. Maybe the Russians are a little bit different, but they don't rate the Poms. They don't really rate us. They don't really rate anyone except themselves, and that's fine. They are, I suppose, the whole boxing universe revolves around the States, and that's fine. That's cool. But I think there's no way you could look at that fight yesterday and say that Tim's not the real deal and he's not going to give Jermell Charlo one hell of a fight. Now, I think he'll beat Charlo. I'm sure a lot of you guys as well. It's not just my Australian bias. I think he showed yesterday that he's at the level. And I think I might have spoke about this last week and maybe on the show on Saturday with Mike, that, yes, Tim didn't have the resume. I agreed with Tony Harrison saying you could make an argument why he got the undisputed shot when his resume was okay without having those really big names on it. That's fine. But I think we all knew that Tim, even though the resume wasn't quite where it might be, talent-wise and preparation-wise and everything, you name it, he ticked all the boxes. And just because you haven't had all those big fights doesn't mean you're not up to it. And I think Tim showed yesterday that he's more than up for it. I love the fact that he handled the pressure so well. I was a little bit worried in the first round what he might do, but he boxed beautifully. Yes, Tony Harrison arguably won the round. He was probably a little bit busier. But look, I've got no doubt Tim's team said, go out there, have a look at him. You got 12 rounds. Let's see what we've got. Take your time. He didn't want another Gorchet moment where he got caught in the first round, and I thought he boxed beautifully. As I said, he might not have won the round. I think I might have still given it to him, but if it did, it was pretty close. But I really liked the fact he came out and had a good look, and then really upped it from there. So, Carl, yes, how good was it? Says Carl to Big J. What's the shirt say, Lyndon? Well, it actually says lions, not sheep, Carl. Lions, not sheep. And I think all you guys out there will probably know what I'm talking about. It's a bit of a worldwide sort of brand, and I'm pretty proud to wear it on the show. So be a lion, not a sheep, if you're watching out there. Let's not get political, by the way. We're talking boxing, so I'm not going to answer any political questions, but that's what it says, lions, not sheep. And I reckon you're a lion, Carl, from our brief conversations on the show. Rowan, welcome to the show, mate. That show was incredible to be at. It was good to have you there, Rowan. It was non-stop entertainment from start to finish. And I think, look, I've been to one other No Limit show. That was the Paul Gallen fight. It was last year where he lost to, Truelski, the Melbourne boy, the heavyweight. And Nikita absolutely demolished Mason Smith on the card. Great card. That was my first show. And I'd heard everyone say, you've got to go to a No Limit show. They do it better than anyone. And I really like the fact, not only do they do... Well, they borrow a little bit from the American sports, I will say, and maybe even Australian sports with the in-between fight entertainment. They've got the guy in the crowd, with the microphone. I was glad they didn't have Kiss Cam, Rowan, I will say. The moment they bring out Kiss Cam, that's it, like they do at the basketball. I don't like that, but I like that. A couple of comedians in the audience. And as I said, when I was in Newcastle to get a taste of it, I thought, yep, these guys, they do it so well. And then yesterday was even at another level. So... I thought, look, I'll be honest with you guys. I know I'm being a bit of a killjoy here. I was a little bit pissed that after the Murdoch and Hardman fight, I'm not sure you guys know what I'm getting at here or can remember, but the Hardman-Murdoch fight, it was an awesome fight that we'll cover in a sec. The decision was announced, either here or there, each way, whatever. The crowd was probably split. Hardman went off. Apparently, I didn't see it. And all they could focus on was, what are they, the crazy bunch or the mad mob, or whatever they are, Sam Goodman's crowd. I didn't like it. They didn't interview Rowan Murdoch or Isaac Hardman. They were both hanging around waiting to be interviewed. not a word with either of them, and all they were focused on was the crazy mob or whatever they call him in the crowd, taking their shirts off and doing shoeies. I know I'm probably getting old, guys, so don't come at me. I didn't like it. I really wanted to hear what Rowan Murdoch and Isaac Hardman had to say. Sam Goodwin was the next fight up. Give all that mob all the attention they want during that. But in this instance, I really wanted to hear what Isaac Hardman and Rowan Murdoch had to say. But I'm getting picky. As I said, I really love the comedians between rounds, between fights. I love the music. Probably got a little bit loud towards the end. But again, I'm getting old, especially when everyone was exiting the arena. It was just pumping. I was trying to actually do a bit of a video and a bit of a chat while we're in there, but it was just so loud. And my older ears were starting to get a little bit, a bit sore. But anyway, apart from that, look, just an awesome show. And you're right, Rowan, the incredible entertainment from start to finish, right from the word go. All the fights were great, and it was just a great day to be at. And I think, I'm not quite sure, I haven't watched it back on the replay yet, but I'm really looking forward to doing that. And I'm assuming that energy and excitement and the buzz and, the Aussie crowd when Tim had him hurt, holy shit, it was just next level. Carl, great card, mate. It certainly was. Jackie Dilk's in the house. No one could do what the Rose boys are doing. Exactly right, mate. And as I said, Jack, it's one thing to be given the rights, given the monopoly on Australian boxing, but they've more than earned it. And I think the mantra with everything, I put up a little video on the screen yesterday. They started from the ground up. They started from nothing. Now, I know they had a little bit of an in with the they had a little bit of an in with the league crowd, and I know they did the league shows with Paul Gallen and got a bit of momentum, probably met a few people through Fox Sports and had a little bit of an in that way. But as soon as they got their opportunity, bang, they went away with it, and they had a bit of they did a bit of a sneaky and stole Tim Tszyu out. I know he was about to go with, or looking like he was going to go with DNL or Duco, whatever it was at the time, because they were the big boys in Australian boxing. They went in there and they sniped him and got him out of there, and that was it. As soon as they got that first main event pay-per-view on the way with Tim against Joel Camilleri, which I did doubt, by the way. I thought, how can you sell a pay-per-view with Tim Tszyu versus Joel Camilleri? But they did it. They followed up with Dwight Ritchie and Jack Brubaker, and away they went. Of course, other fighters followed suit. They gathered momentum, and all of a sudden, they're putting on great shows, and now they've pretty much got everyone. I'm not sure what Jai Opetaia is going to do. Justice Hooney is obviously with Matchroom. I would think Opetaia might go with Matchroom as well. But apart from that, they've pretty much got anyone that's worth having in Australia when you think about it. I know Liam Paro and that are with Matchroom, but they're the equivalent. They're the international. But I'm talking about the Australian sort of promoter. So, good on them for everything they did. Carl says, I've seen Tassie on Fight Hype. I did see Tassie, and I think I've got a bit of an interview with him on the video I'm going to put up tomorrow. I sort of left him alone a little bit. I think it was like he was fighting in there as well. He was a bit, he's ready to go, and that's just natural. Tassie's, that just that type of guy, and and that's what's so good about him. He had that energy, and but I haven't seen that on Fight Hype, Carl. I'll be sure to check it out. I can just imagine what it was like though. But proud of Bo Balbin as well, and we'll get to that fight as well. Big J says, No Limit needs more legit female fighters, not novices and footy players' wives. Yeah, look, mate, good call. I know they've got Shannon, of course, but Shannon's probably looking like that's going to be it for her. I did see her up there. Apologies to Shannon too. I met her at the weigh-in and said, I'll meet you there. And we got there and said g'day. And that was the last I saw of her. It was just everyone went, split and went their own ways because there was so many boxing people there. And everywhere you turned, you're running into someone that you knew and to talk to and say g'day. And, she obviously was part of, Team Tszyu and No Limit. So she was off doing her thing. But that was what was great about it. I met so many people on the day, and you'll see a few of the interviews in the video tomorrow. But I'm with you, Big J. Look, there's some good Australian fighters out there. You've got, I think there's Taylor Robinson and Shanika Johnson. Not so sure what's going on with Susie Ramadan. Of course, Ebony Bridges is with Matchroom, but when you think about it, and Sky Nicholson, when you think about it, they could probably poach, say, a Shanika Johnson, I suppose. She's a world champion. Taylor Robinson's, I think it's one of these at the junior title or whatever, the world title or whatever it is. And she might fight for a world title down the track at light flyweight. So they're probably the two I might suggest to sort of nab now, and then they might get a few coming. I've got Chanel Dargan, of course, but I'm not quite sure. I'm a big fan of Chanel, I will say. I love the way she fights. I'm not sure she's going to get to that international level, but I'm with you, mate. They've got everything else stitched up, so why not take the girls as well? You didn't make it, Big J. All good, mate. I'm sure you'll get to the next one. Carl says they've been eating some serious crow. That's the Americans, I'm gathering. I know they don't like to lose, but it's okay. Just give credit where it's due, Carl. That's all I'm saying. Just give credit where it's due. We all know that our man's going to give it to their man, but, yeah, look, it's a little bit of banter, but look, we've all obviously got so much confidence in Tim. No one's underestimating the job in hand for Tim Zoo against Jamal Charlo. We're not disrespecting Jamal. What we're just saying is that our man Tim is going to go over there and give as good as he gets, and in my opinion, will take the belt. Mr. Pads, I'm not sure whether you've been on here before, mate, but welcome to the show. He's responding to Rowan here. Yes, he was there, had a seat in the middle row, but it was hectic. Tim put a beating on the lad. Great night for us Aussie boxing fans. Certainly was, Mr. Pads. And look, you guys that were there will agree with me. When Tim got him hurt in the ninth round and just poured on the punches, I think it was about 15 or 20 right hands in a row with uppercuts and overhand rights and you name it. He was swinging for the fences. The crowd was just going absolutely berserk. It was awesome, and you just couldn't help be swept up in it. And of course, when he hit the deck, and we'll talk about the knockout as well. There's been a bit of criticism on the referee, so when we get to that fight, I want to get your opinion on that. I've been asked numerous times about it in the last day or so about the referee. Did he wait too long? Was it a stoppage too late? I'll go over that as well, but I'm interested to hear your opinion. What do we got there? Paul Camilleri. How are you, Paul? Welcome to the show. That's okay. Let him rate Charlo in disregard to. It will only make our man more hungry. Yeah, you get the impression he's on a mission, don't you, Paul? He's and as I said at the start, it did come out in the post fight when and you don't really, and I'm not really a fan of fighters swearing, but in that instance, I think sometimes it just doesn't come across well when they start swearing. I understand there's emotions involved, the adrenaline's in there and everything else, and you can sort of forgive Tim for letting it all out because, as I said, like he's had that burden on him for so long. Now, I will say, let's not get carried away. He's not the world champion yet, but he's the interim champion, so you can fully forgive him for letting out all that emotion and frustration for having that belt over his shoulder. So, and let's hope he gets the 4 or maybe 5 with the Ring magazine as well in maybe 3 or 4 months' time. Who else we got here? Andy says, Timmy Tiger versus Lions only. Jamal next, please. Yeah, well, I did see today they're talking about maybe July in the States, in Vegas for that one, Andy. So we'll just see what happens there. What is it now? Start of almost mid-March. So what's that, 4 months? Well, I think that would be perfect for Tim. I would think maybe more August. Or even September. That's around the next lot of Mexican holidays. I think it's, I'm not quite sure, is it Independence Day for the Mexicans? I know Cinco de Mayo is the first week of May, but I think the other Mexican holiday is the second week of September. Now, that might be Canelo Bivol, so maybe, of course, they're not going to infringe on that. But I'm thinking maybe August. I think Jamal Charlo, I think he's only just started his rehab now. So that's 2 months, and then he's going to have 2 months of training. And it's Jamal Charlo we're talking about, so you could probably add another month just for all his bullshit. So I'm thinking about August, and that'll roll into September with Canelo and Bivol if that goes ahead. Yeah, BJ, excellent show, mate. It was just, it was next level. Carl, Jamal drops the belt or bleeds this injury for all it's worth. That kitten hasn't even hurt his hand. He was pretty vocal yesterday, Carl. He had a bit of a bit to say about Tim. Didn't look like I think his hand was out of plaster, I think it was. So, look, as I said, probably 2 months away in the rehab stage because it's been 2 months in plaster and then it'll be 2 months worth of training, but or 10 weeks. And that's why I think it's going to be more like August. But anyway, I know they were talking about maybe wanting to have it at the end of the American summer, which I think is August, end of August. So we'll see. Yes, Paul, the undercard was fantastic, and we'll get into that in a sec. Mr. Pads, what do you got there, mate? Deep dive. You're looking forward to the Big Baby Miller versus Brown fight coming up. Yeah, I've got that or I haven't got an agenda, but I've got it up here to discuss Mr. Pads because that's this weekend, I think it is. So it's the 15th. So I might, hang on, where are we? It is March 18th. It is. So that will be, what's that, Saturday? Friday. Yeah, it'll be Friday. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Yeah, but I am looking forward to it, mate. And best of luck to Big Daddy over there. It's going to be a big ask for him to beat Big Baby Miller, but you got to be in it to win it. And Lucas Brown's got this, so we'll see. G'day, Matt. What do we got there, mate? First fight with the Russian versus the Korean was an absolute mismatch. The Korean was a punching bag. Well, at the weigh-in, Matt, he did actually say, I will win. I know he's got to say that. But I will say one thing, Matt. He was tough as nails. We were sitting on level 2, and the sound of the punches, they were hitting hard. That Russian was an absolute beast, an animal. He's the real deal. I saw him at the weigh-in, and actually I didn't really know who he was. He was standing beside me and sort of looked at each other, and I thought, oh, well, who's this sort of guy? And turned out he was the Russian when he got up and weighed in. I thought he was big. I mean, I think it was at light heavyweight, or I think it was light heavyweight. He wasn't overly tall. He's not that much taller than me, if any, but just heavy set. He was big chest, big arms, big legs. Yeah, he's going to take some beating. Oh, look, I'm with you though, Matt. Probably didn't beat much, although he was tough, the Korean guy. Great stoppage, by the way, I will say. I can't remember who the referee was. Might have been stopped maybe a fraction early. He was taking a lot of punches, but he didn't really wobble, or the knees buckle or obviously go down. That left hook he got in with was just beautiful, though, and waved it off without a count, so I thought that was really good. Yeah, Paul, as I just said, how strong was the Russian first up for the night? Yeah, he was a beast. Andy, what do we got there, mate? Mate, real boxing fans here for the fighters, not a bunch of people being silly in attendance. But yeah. There's a lot of casual there, Andy. But that's what they're relying on to fill the stadium, because they're just relying on boxing fans. There might have only been 5,000 people there, so I know they're relying on those casuals to go there. And there was a lot. We were in the sort of corporate bit, and there were a lot of guys in there. You could tell they're off the leash for the weekend with the misses, like you might get at a footy game in the corporate box. A lot of pissed guys at about 2 o'clock before it started, and didn't really know a lot about boxing, but they're the ones that'll pay big money for tickets, so we need them. Congrats to Tim Zoo and all the winners. Yes, Andy. Yep. Chanel Dargan is okay here. 2, 1, and 2. Look, James. We'll use this. We've just discussed the Russian a little bit there. I think Mike Elton, I spoke about him on Saturday on the live chat that we did. He's got big plans for the Russian. He thinks he's going to be, it could be, anything. As I said, he didn't really beat a lot, but he's going to be, I'm not sure. And I did ask him why was he on the card, because he's not a no-limit fighter. And I think he said that sponsors paid for the fight to be on the card, which does happen a lot. Someone, sponsors or someone, or a rival promoter or something will fund the fights. All no limit. All they wanted him to do is get a fight and be on a big stage. So they would have said, "Yep, doesn't cost us anything. Let's do it." So yeah, I'm sure they've got big plans for him. On to the girls' fight, which was Chanel Dargan. I think it's 2 L's there, James. I think that's the way you spell it. Chanel. And maybe 1 N by the looks of that there. So she beat Courtney Martin in the first, or we'll call it the first no-limit fight of the show. I love Chanel Dargan. As I said before, I'm not quite sure she's up to that real international level, but geez, it doesn't really matter, does it? She comes to fight. 2, 1, and 1, so 2 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. But she just lets him go, and she started that fight just straight out the blocks, and she just let him go. I thought she was great. I actually thought Courtney Martin might, after that first round, Chanel Dargan's been known to probably gas out a little bit. I thought Courtney Martin might step it up and maybe outbox her over the next few rounds, but she fought really, really well. And congratulations to her for getting the win. And look, she's probably going to be a staple on all the shows going forward, I would think. Get a couple more comments as we're going here. Nikita was looking sharp at each fight. He blew Bo Belvin out of there. Yeah, we'll get to that, mate. He did. I'll see about getting Tassie on this week for a chat about that fight. I'm sure you'll be able to answer any questions about Bo. I don't think there's really much you can say, to be honest, Carl. Look, Nikita he's just a level above everyone here, and Bo gave it everything he could, and that's all he can do. Yes, Andy, full props to No Limit. Jules, how are you, buddy? Evening, spotted you in the crowd yesterday, but too far away to say hi. Great day, nonetheless. That's awesome, Jules. Thanks for that. On the day of the fight, I think we had to get there really early, and we went upstairs, and I didn't really venture out too much. But next time you see me, mate, feel free to come and say good day. But I hope you had a good day, Mr. Pads. What do you got there, mate? Deep dive. I saw so many excuses. People saying Tony took a dive. Well, I didn't see that. I hope that's not the case. There was no drug testing and so on. Where there was drug testing, because after the weigh-in on Saturday, on Saturday, Before we did our live show, I went to the bathroom, and who's in there? It was Tim Zoo doing a urine test. That's probably the last person you would expect to see when you go in there to go before that we did the show. But as I was walking in, he was just coming out. We had the drug tester beside him, so don't accept that, Mr. Pads. He 100% did a drug test, and I'm not quite sure they get him. Then I know because he would have been dehydrated. I know they did the official weigh in 2 hours before, so maybe had a chance to rehydrate a little bit. But I thought it was a bit odd they'd get him so soon after the weigh-in when he obviously is dehydrated. But yeah, but disregard that, Mr. Pads, because I saw it with my own eyes. He got drug tested. Got to give Tim credit. Hate that mentality that some fans have when they don't give credit. Yeah, look. As I said, mate, no one likes to lose, or no one likes their boy to lose. But at the end of the day, you got to give credit where credit's due, and that's what frustrates me a little bit with the America. Look, I'm sure that we've got a lot of people from America that watch this show, and I'm sure they'll give Tim his cred. But it's probably just more the American fighters are all probably bros with each other, with Tony Harrison, and you'd probably expect Spence and all those guys to lay the boots in the Tim. But look, end of the day, they can say what they want. There's no denying the fact that Tim is the real deal, and he'll show it hopefully when he gets a crack at Jamel Charlo for real. We'll get to that fight now. I think Paul. I think it was it the second? No, it wasn't. We'll get to that in a second. What have we got there? I've just got a few comments going there, so I'll go through a few comments and we'll go over the fights as they come up. All right, so I've done Chanel. All right, let's get on to Nikita and Bo then. We've had a couple of comments like that about that. Mate Nikita was looking sharp at each fight. He blew Bo. Sorry, you just said that. Look, a little bit more on that with the Nikita and Bo Belvin fight. Look, I think Tassie and the crew, they were under no illusions that they were the B side. Obviously, that was always going to be the case. They knew they were up against it. But look, if you don't test yourself in this sport, well, you're never going to achieve anything. These guys put in so much hard work and sacrifice that, and then they take a step up, because I saw a few negative comments about it, about what he was in there with Nikita. Hey, look, he was 7-0, 5 knockouts. And look, you've got to test yourself. As I said, they train so hard, they sacrifice so much. Let them have the big fights. He didn't get hurt. There was a great stoppage by the referee as well. So give Bo his props, give the Korean his props, give them all the props. I know what it's like to get in there, guys, and especially at the pro level, these guys deserve respect no matter what happens. So, but on Nikita, I really liked it, because if you go through his 5 fights, or the 4 previous fights, the first one was just a blowout. It was all the the hype on Nikita. It was a lot of pressure on him. He was the main event on the card. So I think it was a case of just get him out of there. Don't worry about how you look. Just get him out of there, which he did in, I think, 2 or 3 rounds. The next fight against Mason Smith, he blew him out of there. Looked good, but we didn't really get to see a lot. Then in the Ben Horn fight, I think that's when the penny dropped, with all concerned about Nikita, about what they have to do with him, because I think he tried too hard in that fight. I think because let's face it, everyone said he would blow Horn out of there. So he went out there and he fought that way. Ben was a lot more durable than everyone thought. Fought a great fight on the night. Had Nikita rocked a couple of times. So I thought after that, that fight, I'm really impressed with the way Nikita and his team have gone back to the drawing board. The fight against Darkin, he pretty much embarrassed Dryden, whatever his name, Darkin, I think that's his name. As pretty much embarrassed. He made him quit in the corner. And there's a lot of this going on before that, and he made him quit in the corner by being so precise and clinical. And he did that again yesterday against Bo, probably even more so. So I was so impressed with him. Bo showed a ton of heart, but Nikita took his time. He had 6 rounds to do it. And unlike those earlier fights where he rushed it a bit too much, I was so impressed with the way he just took his time, picked his shots, and that real Russian type of predatory type of style, the Golovkin type of style, where they just hunt you down. And that's what Tim did as well. They're just there, and they're on you, and they're on you, and they're on you. Sometimes not even throwing a lot of punches, but the presence is right in front of you, and they make you punch, and they counter, even though they're coming forward, they're almost countering, and they rip and hook and uppercut and push you around. And that's what Nikita showed yesterday. So really, really impressive. I will go through some more comments there, guys. Nikita looking a lot like Costa or Southpaw version. Yeah, as you said, they're fighting similar from Southpaw. The only thing I'd probably like to see going forward, Paul, with Nikita is he tends to, when he punches sometimes, just the chin sort of gets a little bit up in the air a little bit. But look, the kid's had 5 fights, so I'm sure they'll work on all that sort of stuff. But he tends to, when he punches, drop the hands a little bit and the chin just elevates just slightly. But apart from that, mate, he's a killer. And I'm sure they'll work on that as he has more fights. And I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even look at an international opponent for another 6 or 7 fights. Get him up to about a dozen fights, and then, look, we always talk about he's had 8 years off. He's coming back through the ranks. They're matching up so well so far. And I'm not quite sure who's after this. I'm not quite sure he's ready for the Mazzudias and Marnies and those types of guys yet. I think he's probably 4 or 5 fights away, or maybe even a couple more than that from fighting those guys. But he's a beast, and he'll just get better and better and better. And we've had Glenn on here before, Glenn Jennings, his manager. He said there's no rush. We know he's been out for so long. We just want to guide him through and get those fights under his belt. And I think you'll see him, as I said, another 5, 6, 7 fights. Then they'll start to step him up. You're starting to be young. You'll be probably 25, 26 at that stage. Perfect time to step him up. The Candyman. All right. I'm a big Aussie hater. Okay, but he's going to subscribe. I'm assuming you're an American. The ring size literally felt like a phone booth, not a back foot movers type of ring. Candyman, well, thanks for joining in the chat, Candyman. Look, I've got to disagree with you a little bit, mate, because I know there was a little bit made about the ring the day before the fight, mind you. They had something to say about it. I don't think the ring was that small. I think it was a regulation ring. I think it might have been was a fraction smaller than probably the biggest you can, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was a small ring. It wasn't as big as you can get, but I don't think it was a small ring at all. I just think Tim cut the ring off, made him fight the way he wanted to fight, and Tony just didn't have the ammunition to go with him. Really good jab he used, I'll give him that. But as soon as Tim got his range and his timing and got close, he really had no answers. And I don't think it would have mattered whether the ring was 3 metres bigger either side. I don't think it would have mattered at all. Tim, the way he hunted him down, there was no escaping for Tony Harrison. And I don't use the ring as an excuse at all, mate, to be honest. And as I said, I don't think the ring seemed that small at all. I've seen a lot smaller. But I don't know, that's your opinion, mate, and you're more than entitled to it. Team Batman Boxing, how are you, mate? Great win last night. Easy money. Total domination from Zoo. Yeah, mate, it was just an unbelievable performance. Candyman again. It felt like every time Tony backed up one step, he was on the ropes. Great for ring action, though. I think Tim had a lot to do with that, though, Candyman. If you look at the way he cut the ring down, I always, even earlier on in his career, compared him a little bit to Triple G. I'm not saying he's Triple G, but just the way his style was, where he would take a little step to his right and cut you off. You go the other way, he would take he'd shuffle to the left, and not expend a lot of energy. He would just cut the ring off with subtle little shuffles each way, and he was always on you. And I think a fighter like Tim, like Triple G did, makes the ring look small because they just cut the ring off so well and the gap. And Tim was just on him all the time. As I said, mate, it's not for me the ring being on the day. I didn't notice the ring. I've been in the fights before and looked at the ring and went, holy shit, that's not a big ring. But yesterday I didn't see that at all, so I don't really accept that one. Big J, Charlo, I believe, has to fight IBF mandatory Barkam Murtaliev before Zoo. I know it's been talked about, Big J. I think, especially after yesterday, I think the IBF will allow that fight to happen. I don't think there's no way they're going to strip Charlo for fighting Tim Tszyu. I don't think at all. And I mean, the fight was already booked, and it was caused by an injury. So I did see that, Big J, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think there'll be a deal worked out where maybe Tim has to fight him in his first fight if he wins, or Charlo has to fight him next. I would think if Charlo wins against Tim, I think he would vacate anyway and go up. If Tim wins, I don't think that Murtaliev is really an opponent he would be looking at. So he might just vacate. Who knows? Very hard to keep all 4 sanctioning bodies happy. So I got no dramas if you win it to give one up just to get the big fight. So I think Tim's going to want Errol Spence. I'm not sure the Russian there is really going to be enough to light the fire for either Charlo or Tim. Candyman on here because of you, Carl. So, Carl, you've been hanging shit on Candyman on another show, haven't you? And he's here to give a little bit back on your home turf. And Carl says, Candyman, Tim would have chased Tony around the football field and battled the dog shit out of him. I've got a feeling you guys might have had a little bit of banter before, but I'm with you, Carl. 100% agree. I don't think it would have mattered whether it was on the middle of the MCG or the Olympic Stadium up there in Sydney. I don't think it would have mattered. Tim was just cutting the ring off no matter where he went, and he made the ring look small. And, yep, Fleming fighting on Wednesday. Big J, yep. Charlie Suarez is out in Mount Druitt. I'm not quite sure a lot about it. Well, we might have a look at that later if we get a chance, Big J. But all the best to Paul Fleming. Would have been good to have him on the card yesterday, wouldn't it? Yes, Carl, and I agree with this as well. Candyman, good fighters, cut the ring off and drown their opponents, which is exactly what he did. Jay says he was there. Best day of my life. I made noises I didn't know I could make. What an atmosphere. There's no shame in that, Jay. I think there's a lot of that going on. That's a good comment. I think there was a lot of that happening. I think if there was a few people in my little corporate area that I don't think would even remember the fight, Jay, they're all too pissed. That's what happens when you're on the grog up there. But mate, I like that. That's awesome. I'm glad you had a great day. Is that the first big fight you've been to? Let us know. But yeah, the atmosphere was awesome. Team Batman boxing again. Fantastic performance. I know it's not going to happen, but Tim Tszyu versus Liam Smith in Manchester in the same arena. Hatton beat Costa. Would be interesting to get that win back for the Tszyu family UK. I wouldn't rule it out, Batman. I think that's a possibility. I think if Tim wins, I think Liam Smith is a perfect fight for him in Manchester. At the end of the day, it's about exposure. It's about money. Liam Smith's a former world champion, WBO, I think it was. Obviously lost it to Canelo. I think, as they say, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. So I think that'd be a good fight for Liam, and I'm not sure that's far-fetched at all. I think that'd be great. I think Tim, as I said, I think he would love Spence, but that Liam Smith fight would be the perfect opponent before Spence. So if he beats Charlo in, let's just say it's July, as they're talking about, fight Liam maybe at the end of the year. Or start of 2024, and then look for maybe Errol Spence mid-2024. Because by then, Spence hopefully would have fought Crawford, you never know, and made his move up to super welterweight, and who knows. But I like that fight. I really do. And it would be great to see him fight in the same arena that Hatton beat Costa. That's Team Batman. Yep. Big up, Batman. Seems like you're pretty well known, Batman. Friesen boxing, how are you, mate? Talk, Carl, talk your shit, bro. Yeah, I'm assuming it's another person you've upset at some stage, Carl. Team Tszyu, baby, join the fan club by tomorrow. I'm assuming that says tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. Yep. And I'm assuming you're an American. Friesen boxing, or either Canadian, either one with the profile picture there. It's ice hockey. Either way, mate, great to have you along, and Carl's responded there with the Friesen. Yeah, as I said, I'm sure you guys have had some comments before. Aussie, Tim all the way. He's a 154-pound king. Well, almost, Yimmy. We'll claim him as the king anyway, mate. We could almost have a show just between all you guys. We could almost get two screens on and bring both of you on at the same time. And instead of going on in the chat, you can go at each other live. That'd be another good show each week, wouldn't it? Yimi says, women's boxing, if it's not Ebony Bridges, I don't care. Well, I'm assuming you're a Pommy, because all the Pommies seem to love Ebony Bridges. I did read today, on another note, that she's made an absolute fortune out of her OnlyFans and doesn't even need to fight anymore, only does it to enjoy it. I'm not quite sure. I've never seen OnlyFans or been on it. But apparently she's made an absolute fortune out of that. And judging by what I've seen other women make in it, wouldn't surprise me if she's probably made millions already out of OnlyFans. So if that's the case, good luck to her. Mr. Pads says, hello, Friesen. Nice to meet you, Mr. Pads. Where are you from, Mr. Pads? Let us know. Carl, Lynn, I've got a few guys here. Subscribe, lads. This guy knows his stuff. Well, I would hope so, Carl. Either that or I do a good job pretending. But really appreciate you guys that bring other people on. It was actually good when I was on the D-Style boxing, the round table a few weeks. I've been on there twice, but a couple, 3-4 weeks ago, I think it was, when I was on there. I actually seen a lot of you guys on that. So it's good. I think it's awesome to visit all the different channels and have your say and invite people to other sites, and that's how channels grow. And at the end of the day, we're all here just to talk about boxing, so there's no competition. I think you guys, not sure if you all got jobs or anything, but you all seem to spend a lot of time on the chat section. But anyway, what have we got here? Mr. Paz, nice to meet you for the first time, my fellow boxing fan. We'll get on some comments about the fight here now, guys. Tim Tszyu on the stoppage and the win. Both my bets hit good this weekend. My only regret I didn't bet more. Tszyu style is a nightmare for Harrison, and it played it out exactly as I thought in terms of, I think there must be another one coming, of Tony being trapped on the ropes and in the corner taking shots until he couldn't anymore. Yeah, no, he was, mate. When Tim, that's what I loved about it as well. When Tim got him hurt, he got him out of there, and Tony was brave. While we're talking about that, guys, we'll get on to it now. The referee, what did you guys think about the referee? Was it too soon? My personal opinion is no. It wasn't too soon. I thought, and I said this to someone today, that when you're in a fight of this magnitude, the fighters are so evenly matched that you've got to give them every opportunity to fight the way out or clinch, whatever. And even though Tim was throwing bombs, yes, I know a couple got through, but Tony, being the professional that he is, very experienced, a lot of them were glancing, a lot of them were missing. And he was, they were sliding off the shoulders, or they were sort of missing by this much, or they were glancing. So I think the referee gave him as much chance as he possibly could, which you're supposed to do in this situations for an interim world title. And at no stage was Tony's legs buckled or was he really in danger. And when he did actually, you see he turned at one stage and put the arm on the rope. The referee actually went to get in and was just a little bit slow for Tim with that last one that dropped him. But when he got up, normally I'm not a big fan of when they get the fighters up and they make them walk to the left, they make them walk to the right, and do the pinky things like they do on the roadside breath tests over there. That sort of stuff. I like them just to say maybe walk towards me, assess them, and make a decision on the spot. Because sometimes you've had fighters get an extra 5 or 6 seconds by the referee who just wants to give them the roadside breath test. Sort of thing. So, but in that instance yesterday, I think if he just had got him to walk towards him, the odds are he might have let the fight continue because he wasn't too bad. But when he actually went to the side, you can see a little bit of a wobble. The referee had a look, made him go the other way, and then waved it off. I thought it was a really, really good stoppage by the referee. I know some of you guys out there will disagree, but as I said, these guys put in so much. There's so much on the line for these fights. I like when they give them every possible chance, as long as we're not talking about a Tommy Morrison, Ray Mercer situation here, but when you've got a cagey, experienced fighter like Tony Harrison, who was, as I said, rolling with the punch a little bit, doing his best. The only thing he didn't do was clinch, which really surprised me, which is why Tim Tszyu was letting him go from here. He just gave him a bit of a free hit. So I was surprised by that. But, yeah, as I said, with the referee, I think it was a really good stoppage. When he got up, he assessed him and then waved it off. Tony did the right thing too. He stayed down till 8 or 9, I think it was, and got up. So he did exactly what he was supposed to do as a fighter that had been dropped. And the referee did what he was expected to do as well. So for all those people that asked me today, and I did see a few chats online as well, my opinion is as the referee, it was a perfect way to handle the fight, and he stopped it exactly when he should have. So that's my opinion. Big J, I know it's never ending, but at some point the IBF needs to get off their ass and do something around the Charlo versus Mertzaliyev. Yeah, who knows, mate? Sometimes they put the foot down, sometimes they don't. That's what's so frustrating about the sanctioning bodies. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no pattern. It's just for one fighter, it's one set of rules, and for another one, it's another set of rules. I've stopped trying to give up. I've given up trying to make sense of it. Tony Harrison looks shot to pieces. Remember, Tony has been KO'd 4 times now. A guy named Willie Nelson TK'd him. Yeah, look, I know that's coming out now, Candyman, but look, last week there's a lot of people out there saying that he would be way too experienced for Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu was a pretender. He was a novice. He didn't deserve the shot. Tony Harrison said it himself, and he would beat Tim Tszyu. It's a bit. I don't like the fact that now people are coming out with that sort of comment saying, well, he was shot to pieces. Well, we didn't know that. I know I thought that Tim would beat him because I think he had a win and a draw in his last couple of fights were a little bit uninspiring. But as I said, mate, there was a lot of people out there that said that Tony would be way too experienced for Tim. Tim was just a novice and had no right to be in this type of fight. And I think Tim is the reason why Tony looked shot to pieces. I really do. I think, and I know he's had 4 stoppages, but apart from the Willie Nelson one, which I think was a little bit earlier in his career. They were against some legitimate guys. So, I don't know, mate. Everything's good in hindsight. But at the end of the day, you can only do what you can do. And Tim Zoo got the job done and won it very, very convincingly. Friesen with a bit of advice for us there for Carl. He's absolutely wasted right now. Okay, thanks for letting us know there, Friesen Boxing. I hope it's... I'm not sure what time it is over there. It's probably the middle of the night. So, good luck to you, mate. Team Batman Boxing, it was a superb performance that announced him on the world scene. No doubt he beats everyone at 154, not named Charlo, and that's a great fight either way. Yep. Make no mistake about it, Batman. I think we're all in the same illusion. We're not getting, well, the fight fans that probably know a little bit, the casuals are probably a little bit different. They think Tim Zoo's, the greatest fighter of all time. But I think the real boxing fans know that, are under no illusion that Jermell Charlo will be an extremely tough fight for Tim, but we just think he's got everything it takes to win that fight and win the belts. All right, so he's Canadian, drinking a shitty Canadian government beer. What's it called? I've probably had it. Old style Pilsner. Okay, well, I got into a little bit of I lived there for 12 months, Friesen Boxing, a bit of Labatt's over there, a bit of Molson. They like their high percentage beers over there too in Canada, I've got to say, on another subject. We'll go through the comments there again. James Daly, don't know, but I guess the WBO, IBF, and maybe a third party like Showtime got together and worked out. They'll work something out, James. That was in response to Big J, that one. I think they'll definitely work it out, guys. No doubt. The fight's too big. I think this now, with yesterday's result, now those sanctioned bodies are going to want this fight. And there'll be a deal worked out either way, whether it's some money that exchanges hands or there's a promise to fight him next. I don't know. Doesn't change the fact that he's been waiting for, a couple of years, like Tim's been waiting for the WBO shot. But as I said earlier, mate, who knows what goes on with these sanctioning bodies. Could be worse. The WBC could get involved and anything could happen. Batman says again, I'll definitely favour Zoo over Spencer Crawford. Wow, okay. If they moved up. He's too strong and his IQ and timing also seem to get overlooked. Wow. As they say, Batman, that's a bold statement. You're going to upset those Americans, mate. They're going to be falling off the chair right about now and in the fetal position on the floor. If you're saying that Tim Zoo's going to beat Spencer Crawford, I can't wait to see some comments about that one, mate. But I'm with you. I think he beats them, but try and convince our American friends that. Dark and Dryden. Sorry, yep, Matt, that was him. Thanks for that. He played the game, didn't he? He was pretty tough in the lead up. Behind here, guys. A lot of comments coming through. Thought Bo was in trouble at the end there. Keen to know why Tassie held off with the towel. He in less trouble than he looked. I haven't had a chance to talk to Tassie. I was going to ring him today, but I know he was travelling back home, and he's probably had a big week. And the last thing he wanted was people ringing him to ask what was going on. We'll give him a ring tomorrow and see if he'll come on our Wednesday or Thursday show to chat. Look, I think, Jules, to be honest with you, I didn't see it on the screen, so I can't comment. I couldn't see his eyes or whatever. But for where I was looking, I think it was just the culmination of the swarming effect of Nikita when he got him hurt. It was just an avalanche of punches, and I don't think Bo was necessarily hurt. I just think he just couldn't cope with the flow of punches coming at him. He was probably fatigued as well. And it was just that volume of punches and the referee keeping a good eye. I thought that was a perfect stoppage, Jules. But as I said, I couldn't see the close-ups. I couldn't see what was going on with his eyes or whatever. I couldn't see it. But I just think from where I was sitting that it was just a culmination of just an avalanche of punches from Nikita, and the referee just said, mate, you had enough. And Bo was fine afterwards. So I don't think... and look, Tassie wanted to give... Bo, I would think Tassie would want to give Bo as much chance as possible. I would have thought maybe after that round, if it did get to the end of the fifth round, I think it was, I'm pretty sure Lim and Tassie probably would have waved it. Obviously, mate, you've had it. But I've got a feeling that at that stage, I wouldn't have thrown the towel. I would have been very concerned. I would have thought, shit, I think he's lost pretty much every round. He's really struggling to cope with what's happening to him, and maybe wait to the end of the round. But of course, the referee stepped in before that, and I thought it was a perfect stoppage. Interesting to hear Tassie's thoughts this week as well. Friesen Box, I'm a bit worried about putting your comments up there because you've had a few. Facts, I'll basically take credit for the Tim Zoo Golovkin comparison. Okay, I thought I was going to take credit for that. They have a very similar offensive footwork and high guard. Hopefully, you're still. All right, let's have a look. All right, so we'll see how this goes, guys. I have switched over my internet. Hopefully it's okay. If not, well, it is what it is. I'm going to keep talking anyway. So Mazudia and Ben Mahoney, I must admit, again, as I said, I was just watching at the venue. What do we got? Am I back? Let's see. Am I back there, guys? Where are we? We've lost a few viewers there. So just let me know, guys, if it's back. If not, I will start again because we've got still a fair bit to get through. So Andy says, so true, Jed. I'm still getting your feed coming through, guys. I'm assuming you can still see it. Sure, most is following the main crowd. Sheep. All right, so we're back. All right, okay. I am about 40 seconds in front, guys, so I have switched internet, so hopefully I'm okay. We've lost a lot. They're starting to come back now. All right, so I'm just talking about the Cole Mazudia and Ben Mahoney or Marnie, however you want to pronounce it. In my opinion, all right, Big J. All right, so I don't know what it is tonight, guys, with the microphone and the internet. Just one of those nights. It is what it is. All right, so what did you guys think? Now, I, again, scoring it from the second tier. I didn't see it on TV. In my opinion, thought that Ben Mahoney was a clear winner. And I'm sure you Cole Mazudio fans out there won't agree, but I couldn't agree with the draw at all. And I get the impression from the interviews that I saw I think he thought the same thing.